We've all been there. You commit to a massive goal, fueled by a sudden burst of motivation. You pour every ounce of energy into a frantic sprint, trying to force a change through sheer effort. But that energy is finite. Eventually, the momentum stalls, and you find yourself slipping right back to where you started. JamesClear, the author of Atomic Habits, argues that this failure isn't a personal flaw. He suggests that you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Consistent success emerges when the architecture of your daily actions is designed to support your direction, regardless of how much willpower you have on a given day. Imagine an ice cube in a cold room. The temperature ticks upward, 25, 26, 27 degrees. Nothing happens. At 32 degrees, the ice begins to melt. This sudden shift is the result of every previous degree of heat being stored. This is the plateau of latent potential. It's the invisible phase, where effort compounds beneath the surface, and it's often where people quit because they can't see the work accumulating. Behavioral science helps demystify this plateau. Researchers like B.F. Skinner identified a predictable four-stage loop that drives every repeated action we take. Understanding how these four neurological stages function gives you a framework to keep showing up until your stored effort finally breaks through the plateau. The cycle of any habit follows a specific sequence: the cue, the craving, the response, and finally, the reward. It starts with the cue, the trigger that tells your brain to act. The first law is to make it obvious. Since habits respond to environmental prompts, you can trigger a new routine by placing a physical reminder, like a book on your pillow, directly in your line of sight. To stop an unwanted habit, you reverse this logic. You make the cue invisible. Removing the trigger from your immediate surroundings, like putting your phone in a drawer, stops the loop before it even begins. The second stage is the craving, the emotional anticipation of what comes next. The second law is to make it attractive. You can use temptation bundling to link a task you need to do with something you already enjoy, like only listening to your favorite podcast while you exercise. To break a bad habit, you find ways to make the craving unattractive. Often, this means moving into a social circle where that behavior is no longer the norm, making the action feel socially costly rather than rewarding. These first two laws focus entirely on preparation. You are engineering an environment that makes taking the next step feel like a natural response to your surroundings. Next comes the response, the actual action. The third law is to make it easy. Because human biology follows the law of least effort, we should design our lives like the Shinkansen bullet train tracks, which are engineered to remove every possible bit of friction to maintain high speed. You can apply this using the 2-minute rule. Scale any new habit down to a microscopic gateway version. Instead of studying for 2 hours, your goal is simply opening your textbook. Once you start, you have the momentum to continue. To make a bad habit difficult, you use a commitment device. The novelist Victor Hugo famously had his clothes locked away to ensure he stayed at his desk. By making the wrong choice impractical, he forced himself into a productive response. Finally, we reach the reward. The fourth law is to make it satisfying. A core rule of behavior change is that actions followed by immediate rewards are more likely to be repeated. We struggle with this because good habits usually have delayed payoffs, while bad habits offer instant gratification. This creates a biological tilt toward the wrong choices. Jerry Seinfeld solved this by using a wall calendar to track his writing. Every day he wrote, he marked a large X, creating a visible chain. The immediate satisfaction came from the pride of seeing that streak grow and deciding not to break the chain. By designing the response and reward phases correctly, you remove the friction that usually requires you to rely on raw discipline. Beyond these mechanics lie the 3 layers of behavior change: your outcomes, your processes, and at the very center, your identity. Most goals fail because they focus only on the outer ring, the outcome. By starting with identity, your habits begin to flow from your core beliefs. You are no longer trying to work out. You are becoming the type of person who doesn't miss a training session. Every 2-minute habit functions as a psychological vote for the person you are becoming. Each repetition provides the evidence your brain needs to adapt a new self-image. Lasting change happens through the steady accumulation of these atomic habits, shifting your identity one small, deliberate action at a time.